that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country. This is where, in going through this, and I need to take some time because, look, I've always tried to be a happy warrior, and I want to go back to that. I haven't been happy for a while. To be really, I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes, and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness.
You're losing them money. What do you mean? Why is he like this? This guy is insane. Somehow people offered somebody this stupid $50 million.
Those in charge, the big conservative, the big con, and it really is the biggest con going right now, they're making it known in their contracts that they will enforce the guidelines of big tech and punish conservatives on their behalf. Don't worry, Wojcicki. Trust me, these conservatives will stay in line.
We put together the term sheet, we sent it over, and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm gonna walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Stephen represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things they said are simply not true. Remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation started with Stephen. $50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term, if extended, paid in monthly installments. He said that was not what it says in his video that he released, but you can read right here. That's exactly, he gets all of, it's only during the term that we control that. But the things that we make, based on the content that we make, well, that belongs to us because the content belongs to us. And so those channels have to belong to us.
Jordan Peterson eventually deleted this, but Steven Crowder on the hypocrisy of the conservative legacy media.
Now here's this section that I know Stephen was very offended by, and I think he misunderstood and therefore misrepresented. It's incredibly offensive to have your friend and ally in 10 years of fighting this fight alongside one another, coming up together, say that you're not sufficiently conservative, say that you're I think he said in the video that we're worse than the left, that we're doing harm to the conservative audience and harm to the country.
What is he looking at? Is that a recording? Is that a tape recorder?
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand.
The contract that he just got out of, they said this is what he was doing. He's going to make more money with them, Uru. He's going to make more money with them. He's going to make more money with them. This is what I'm talking about.
I want to sit at the table with people who, granted, have an immense amount of power and have incredibly deep pockets. That is all true.
Oh my goodness. Wait, he created that before? Yeah, I got him. Yeah, that does not look good. That does not look good. That is quite a development right there. What's up, fools? I wanted to take a quick second and tell you guys how much I really appreciate all of the new support and all of the new subscribers who loved seeing all of the new names in Discord and in chat. And I also wanted to let you know that we now have memberships available for the channel. You can click the join button below. First tier starts at $1.99. You get cool emotes specific to the channel. You also get badges next to your name. And even in the higher tiers, you can get Tomfoolery shirts as well. I know in the past I've told you guys not to donate to the channel because I have a full-time job, but that's currently not the case. This is my only source of revenue, and on top of that, this is how I pay my editor and how we get such great videos out here for you guys to watch. All the love that we've been sent over here at the Tomfoolery show has been awesome, and it has been great to see, and we really love having all of you guys here. I am currently working on another video essay, but in the meantime, I hope to see you in the live stream chat. Until then, appreciate you and enjoy the video.
StopBigCon.com now exists to begin with. It's been a while. Either this has to stop, or I'm going to have to stop. Either this, what I'm about to discuss, has to stop, or I don't know. This may just not be for me anymore. So let me explain. Give me a few minutes of your time because context matters here. I ask that you don't skip ahead. Won't take very long. This has been a long time coming. This is a conversation that I've actively avoided, sidestepped, and I've hoped and prayed that it not be necessary behind the scenes for a long while. but that's no longer possible. So if you've watched for the last decade,
Stop freaking giving spoilers. All right, calm down. Just pull it back a little bit. Just calm down. Just breathe. We will see what they're talking about. We will find out. Okay. We will get all of the information. Okay.
you know that I've always made it clear that we here at Mug Club are in the business of serving you.
Nope.
Have you-
My title does not say anything about that. You're giving spoilers.
You watching, listening right now. I've also made it clear that I wouldn't be in the business of attacking other conservatives, regardless of disagreements or personal issues. And I've always explained my logic was relatively simple. I believe that the world was better with more voices out there rather than less, regardless of minute differences, considering the magnitude of the battle that we are genuinely fighting for our country right now. But for the first time, I have to say that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country.
You can always tell when he's nervous. You can always tell his voice kind of does this thing where it's like a little shaky, and you can always tell. You can always tell when he's nervous. This is maybe the third or fourth time I've seen him this nervous. The other times was like during the adpocalypse thing where he pretended to do a bunch of apologies where really he was just like naming off like crazy stuff that he did and pretending to apologize for it. And then the other time was when he like got information from Tulsi Gabbard that they like that he was being like downgraded in the algorithm, and he was like he had proof that YouTube was doing this, that, and the other, and he thought they were going to take his stream down the entire time. He thought he was going to get banned like in the middle of doing it, and just yeah, you can always tell when he's very nervous and when he's kind of freaking out. Him and Ben Shapiro have known each other for a very long time. Like Ben Shapiro actually negotiated, I believe, his contract with Fox. He used to work for Fox News. He used to work on like one of their like, you know, comedy talk shows on Fox News. And I believe Ben Shapiro was his lawyer for that contract and helped him with that.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got to where you are. So he runs a show.
Do I need a lawyer present? Do I need half Asian Bill Richmond? Is that how
Always, I'm Jewish, but you know, but Crowder is sitting here, and people should know the way that I got to know Steven Crowder was, in fact, as his lawyer.
Yes.
So many years ago, we got to know each other because I was recommended to Steven for some odd reason as somebody who might be able to negotiate a contract.
I think it was Andrew Breitbart.
Well, but it was probably Andrew. It's always Andrew, right?
Which made no sense because it wasn't the kind of law that you did.
Right, but I could read a contract.
Yeah,
and so
you were Jewish.
This is correct.
And he trusted you.
And the two of them have done a lot of like collaboration and crap like that. So for him to have beef with Daily Wire is obviously a really big deal for him.
We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting the media, entertainment, industrial complex. We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech. But too many of those in charge of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them. So Mug Club. Professionally, it's meant everything to us here.
If you don't know what Mug Club is, it's like his paid subscription service. So if you become a member of like his channel and you pay and you're like, you know, like what we were just talking about with like tiers, and you pay like $5.99 a month or something like that, you get access to his website, his entire catalog, but you also, they send you a mug with the thing on it. So if you're in my Discord, one of the emotes that we have is Steven Crowder like toasting with his little mug. It's our cheers emote. We'll probably have it in the chat soon enough with our members as one of our emotes. But yes, that's what Mug Club is you get a mug if you become a paid subscriber.
But I wasn't really sure that this would work. At that point in time, getting anyone to subscribe to anything was pretty much impossible. Everything on the internet was basically free except for pornography. Even, you know, Netflix, the only player in the space at the time between shipping DVDs of Poltergeist 3, they were struggling with online streaming. But I found a great partnership back then, a partnership with a company called CRTV, which later purchased The Blaze and used that name going forward. And on election night, 2016, so many of you signed up that the back end of our site crashed, we couldn't handle it. And it only grew from there. Now, I want to be clear about something. This video here, it's not about The Blaze. When they were purchased by CRTV, the company's goals, their vision, simply grew further apart from mine. from ours here. It just wasn't the right fit. Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about some things and the handling of Mug Club leaving, and that's why we launched mugclubforever.com, where you can sign.
Who's a funny conservative? I don't know. I can't even like think of like names of any. Who's the guy who just died recently? Like I can't. I don't know. I can think of like a ton of people. I don't know any of their names, so I don't know what to tell you. Like yeah, I can't think of any of their names.
Sign up just to be able to reach you. This really isn't about that, so I want to create some separation here. Business relationships end all the time. That's business. But I was in a period to field offers from other people, other key players in this movement. They flooded in. Now, before you guess who it is, before you start trying to do some Sherlock Holmes work, there are far more people beneath the tip of the iceberg than you know about who are trying to get into the space. There are more than you would probably assume. So I went into free agency. I looked over the offers. And I saw the clause come out. And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech. And that's something that I just couldn't unsee. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's the rule. Kids out there coming up. We need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. I don't have to be here. I don't have to say this. Please, don't sign this. Certainly not without professional legal counsel representation. Do not sign something that includes, let me go through this. Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms.
Will maintain the exclusive right to create and sell Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise. All remuneration for the blank and exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. Wait, so if this is included in the fee, that's not good, because if they can sell his stuff, so they sell like 10,000 shirts, but they're still paying him the same fee either way. Yeah, that's bullcrap. Email lists will maintain the exclusive rights to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. All remuneration for the exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. Damn. So that means they have access to like Mug Club and can bombard them with a ton of bullcrap about like Daily Wire and all of that. Social media management will have exclusive rights to manage, curate, and monetize Crowder's official Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding Crowder's existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts during the term. Additionally, will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, and monetize any and all social media accounts on any social media or similar platform as determined by blank on the Crowder content or shows. All remuneration for the exploitation of these rights is included in the fee. So yeah, if it's if he's upset with this, right? Why wouldn't he just take a lower fee and then say, I want a percentage? Like, if he's upset about all of this, why not just why not negotiate this? And say, like, okay, well, give me, because once they're paying, Tom, it's for $50 million. Yes, I understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I get it. It's freaking Tom. He is getting, wait for it, $50 million. Thank you again. I get it. Yeah, I don't understand why if he doesn't want to give away the rights to this stuff, why not just take less money and then say, but now I get like a piece of everything that you sell of mine. Like, I don't understand. Crowder playing 4D chess, throwing Daily Wire under the bus to expand Mug Club. Well, it doesn't make sense. Like, I would think this is a really good deal. I would think this is like an amazing deal. $50 million over 4 years. He wanted $30 million a year.
Channels in perpetuity, the rights to your content name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built. Don't sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be
if they. What do you mean? If they're giving you multi-million dollars, the penalties would also be multi-millions. What do you mean? Don't sign a contract for multi-million-dollar penalties. It depends on how much money they're freaking giving you.
If it was me, if Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is. Got to get those dollar bills. If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction in fee per quarter. If, let's say, we did do everything per quarter, but annually maybe missed something, like let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work, there'd be a separate $1 million penalty for that if you miss a single piece of content. And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney, it's worse than ABC, it's worse than NBC, it's worse than CBS. This is ownership of you and everything that you do. But here's...
Wait, no, that's not true. No, that's standard, bro. That is insanely standard. If they're buying your product, you have to provide your product. And your product has to make them money. They are signing up for this product to make them money, right? That's what they want. And if you are providing less of your product, you are making them less money. That's standard. That is just standard. It's like if HBO is like, Game of Thrones, yeah, we're gonna pay you to do 10 episodes a season. Now, if later on you do a season and you only do like 6 episodes, then we're gonna dock you on how much we're paying you per season. Right? Well, yeah, no duh. Because you're doing less. Like, obviously.
Just to drive it home, don't sign something that has another $100,000 daily penalty if it's not signed off on beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day.
Yeah, that's how a job works, bro. If you're not working for them and you don't stream, you're already not making that money anyways, right?
Hey, anyone wonder why there's burnout in this? Anyone wonder why you have kids come up and they leave and never to come back? You think if you had that kind of a penalty, you think if someone said, hey, we're going to penalize you $10,000 every day you miss coming into work, you think you'd be stressed? This is worse than the left frames their contracts. Again, of course I didn't sign any of these things. But I now know what other kids are signing out there. And here's the worst part. Yeah, that's terrible. I think it's, I just think that's wrong to treat people that way. But
so I can understand him taking pride in his product, right? He built this. He built this by himself, and he has been very successful at it. And he probably is very attached to the ownership of his product. I get that. But that doesn't mean that you get upset with the deal. That doesn't mean you go tell everybody else that you shouldn't take the deal. It just means, hey, I personally am attached to my product, so I don't want to sell off the rights to it to somebody else. I worked for it. I want to see my product grow. I want the fruits of my labor. Like, cool. Then you just don't take that deal. But why would you go around acting like it's a bad deal or like nobody should take a deal like that? That's insane.
this is where, in going through this, and I need to take some time because Look, I've always tried to be a happy warrior, and I want to go back to that. I haven't been happy for a while. I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes, and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness. It really does. Where you think the people who are supposed to be linking arms and fighting with you, fighting for you, want to punish you. So here's the worst part. Do not, kids, under any circumstances, sign a contract with people who claim to be conservative, but will penalize you 25% for any demonetization or sponsor boycott. Look, let me read this to you.
You're losing them money. What do you mean? Why is he like this? Why is he like this? What is happening? Why is he like this? I can't believe they would give me less money if I make it to where they make less money. That's not fair. What the hell? What the hell is wrong with this guy, dude? What is wrong with him? Why is he sharing this? Just say no and move on? It seems like a power move. It seems like a power move. It seems like he's saying, you know what? They want to offer me $50 million. They really want my stuff. But I'm trying to negotiate with them. They're not budging. Cool. I will go to the public. I will make them look stupid. They will drop down. They will try to meet me in the middle now. And there's probably, I'm assuming there's more to the story. I don't know, but I'm assuming there's more to the story that's probably happening behind the scenes that pushed him to the point where he felt like this was a good idea. But like everything that he's upset about is just stuff. It's like normal stuff. This is just normal freaking crap.
If any of the major platforms, oh no, sorry, that's the second one.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the Daily Wire response, and then also just within the last couple hours, Steven Crowder responded to the Daily Wire response. So we got a lot more stuff to get through here. We're gonna move on through.
Let me go back to the first one. There's another 20%. It's 45%. You get a content strike. Let's start with the demonetization. If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners, the company is not able to replace them within 90 days. The fee will be reduced by 25%. That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work. They work on our guys. We'll punish them for you. Let me go on. Specifically, YouTube demonetization. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25% moving forward. Now, I thought this was a mistake because, these people maybe didn't know who I am, that we've been demonetized for 3 years. No, it was made very clear to me in no uncertain terms. This is what's sent out to everybody. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20% reduction. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. Imagine you're deplatformed, as we've seen in the past, where all of the major entities decide to remove you in one day. Rather than having a conservative alternative, you would now be down to 5 to 15% of the revenue of your contract.
This is actually amazing, bro. This guy is actually amazing. He is actually insane. This is so stupid. Yes, boycotts affect their bottom line. Does he think Daily Wired is a charity? Yes, exactly. Like, what does he think? That they're just going to be like, don't worry about it, bro. If you lose us millions of dollars, it's cool. We'll keep paying you millions of dollars anyways. Not only will we lose it on that end, but we'll lose it doubly when we continue paying you for it on the other end. No problemo. What is wrong with him? Like, okay, say he doesn't take this deal, right? He's probably losing more money just by like each one of those things in and of themselves, right? He's probably losing more money ahead of time, right? So when he says, well, I thought they didn't know who they were talking to. I thought maybe they didn't understand that we've already been demonetized on YouTube, but I found out this is standard. Well, that means that when you start with them, there's already a baseline to where if you're not monetized on YouTube, that's not included. You're still getting $50 million. Like that counts. That is your baseline that they're paying for right now. When they buy you, they are buying you demonetized, meaning that getting demonetized later is different than already starting off demonetized. He is nuts, dude. This guy is insane. Somehow people offered somebody this stupid $50 million. I mean, the contract is basically saying we have rights to everything and you have to be good and stay on social media, a good side, or you'll have nothing. Right, but they're a bigger platform, right? They're a much bigger platform. So they're able to push his stuff a lot more. They're able to get him like a lot more revenue generated. So they'll sell his merchandise at a much higher rate. They will they'll put his, you know, his catalogs on their websites to where they'll play their own commercials on there, and they'll make him more money on there, which will make him even more popular on all of the other platforms where he's monetized, where he'll actually grow even more. Like, and then there's a lot of crossover from like Matt Walsh to Ben Shapiro to, you know, I can't remember the other, you know, Brett Cooper, like all of these different people all have all of this crossover where they all engage with one another. They have commercials on each other's streams and on each other's videos. And, you know, they end up blowing each other up. Each one of them, if one gets bigger, they're helping the others get bigger and so on. They grow in tandem with one another because they're all working inside of one conglomerate. He is already huge. And he could benefit from that greatly. Like, he could do really well, where instead of people having to go from the Daily Wire website to the Mug Club website, now they just get him on the Daily Wire website. They get everybody on the Daily Wire website. He will benefit from that so much. He will make so much more money by doing that. So yes, they buy the rights to his stuff by saying, yes, we will buy everything that you own. We will own all of that ourselves, but you'll make way more money in the process. Peterson deleted a tweet after, or supporting Crowder after finding out who the video is about, allegedly.
Think about this for a second. Those in charge, the big conservative, the big con, and it really is the biggest con going right now, they're making it known in their contracts that they will enforce the guidelines of big tech and punish conservatives on their behalf. Don't worry, Wojcicki. Trust me, these conservatives will stay in line. If they get demonetized, we take away 25% of their operating budget. Take another 20% away if they get a hard strike. Hey, don't worry, Zuckerberg. We've got your back. Hope to see you at the UFC Apex. Let me ask you, can you imagine if this
Because, yeah, like, the thing is that if he doesn't take the deal and he gets demonetized on those platforms, he's probably losing even more money. He's losing way more money than he is taking the deal and just getting, like, a 10% cut instead. Like, 10% cut, not so bad. But if you don't take the deal, like, yeah, if you don't take the deal and you get demonetized on one of these platforms, it's probably a lot more than freaking 10%. Like, it sounds like Daily Wire is still taking a lot of the brunt of this stuff. When you get canceled or when you get deplatformed or you get demonetized, it sounds like they're still taking on some of that loss for themselves just to keep you on there, just to keep you happy, just to keep you, just because, you know, to own your brand and all of that other stuff, you still end up making a lot more money in the process.
show not only was never permitted to take risks per our contract as it relates to.
Yeah, this is basically saying you won't stand on your principles and that you'll take money instead. That's what this is. This is, it's a contract, yes. If they wanted principles, they wouldn't offer him a contract at all, right? They wouldn't have anything to do with him. If it was about principles, they would just do their own thing and he would do his own thing. And when each one of them gets deplatformed or demonetized, they would just have to take it in stride and that would be the end of it. But instead, they are actually working together and helping each other grow and helping each other get bigger and push their names and push their messages and push their brands and all of that other crap. This is what it is that he's complaining about. He like, If it was actually about the principles, he would just take the deal and grow with them and be one with them and use their websites to get his message out. And when he gets demonetized, it's okay. I still got this website. When he gets deplatformed, it's okay. I still got this website. They're still making me a lot of money. They're still helping me get my stuff out. Like, okay, so Crowder, whether he's lying or not, is saying he doesn't like the contract, is like selling your principles. Right, but that's what I'm saying, is that it has nothing to do with the principles. The principled part of it, it makes perfect sense. The principled part of this is perfectly fine. It sounds like he just wants to own his branding, and that's it. That's the only part that he could possibly be upset about here. But he's not being very clear. He's just like mentioning things and then acting like, oh, look. Oh, thank you. Thank you, YouTube. Oh, wow, Mark Zuckerberg, you win. Oh, big W for you. He's not being specific in what he's saying. He's being like as vague as possible so that he doesn't actually have to like lay this out logically, because logically this is gibberish.
To big tech guidelines, like as far as the content guidelines, right? There's content guidelines and there's advertiser guidelines. Can you just imagine a world where this show could never take risks in relation to those guidelines on, say, things like mRNA injections, election integrity, take your pick. But one step further, if this show had to be advertiser friendly on YouTube, those guidelines pretty much read, don't say anything offensive ever. Well, what's offensive? Whatever is stuck in Susan Wojcicki's craw that day.
Yeah, this is actually, I went over this in VC with everybody the other day. Like, they are very stringent on everything. So here's my stuff. I'll show you my monetization. All right. So here's my streams, okay? So today I just have the monetization turned off because I literally, it's not even, there's no point in it anymore. But here's where I see. So ineligible means I'm not going to make any money whatsoever. And then limited means that I will make like a very small percentage. I think it's like 12% or 15% of the monetization. So ineligible, limited, ineligible, ineligible, on, ineligible, limited, ineligible, limited, 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 on. So that's 2 that are on so far. Ineligible, limited, limited, ineligible, ineligible, on, ineligible. Like, it's really frustrating. Like, everything is getting taken down. Everything is made to where, like, I can't monetize it. I can't make any money off of it. And normally I just like turn the commercials off at that point, because if that's the case, I don't know why I would make my audience suffer through watching extra commercials for no reason. He's not wrong, but it makes sense.
I wish those at the top in big conservative, with, granted, yeah, a lot of the money, wanted to do better, but they don't. That's why I've created stopbigcon.com, and you can be a signatory, and our plans therein. Look, like,
bro, why don't you create your own thing? Do your own thing. Make your own catalog, make your own website, pull your own conservatives onto your own thing, and you pay for them getting demonetized. When they get demonetized, you give them money. When they lose ad suitability, you keep paying for them to get that money anyways. You do that. And you let them own their you know, you let them own their brand and everything else. You let them own their email lists. You let them own all of their stuff to where you're incapable of making money off them whatsoever, but you're still giving them $50 million. You do that. Why not? Instead of creating a website complaining about big conservative, you go do the thing. Go be principled.
like I said, I have the luxury of not signing this. I don't need it. I've been demonetized for years. We've adapted here precisely because of Mug Club. You know, the free content only exists because of those who subscribe. I've promised you we won't do more than one sponsorship spot per show. I will keep my word on that until this show ends. Why? Because it's designed for you. It's not designed for the sponsors. If it's 4, 5, 6, 7 sponsors, they're no longer the product. You're the product. So we've adapted here. I don't need this. We've been demonetized, and we're not beholden.
Yeah, that's how this works. What is wrong with him? Is he against money? What is wrong with him? Yes, like, look, okay. If he wants to do that, that's fine. If he wants to be like, hey, this isn't about money for me. I want to get this message out there. I want to be, because at the same time, he'll say that he's not a political commentator, that he doesn't push politics, that he's not like a political person. He's a comedian. And he says this all the time. I'm a comedian. That's it. I'm here to be funny. That's all. I just happen to be conservative at the same time. Right? So if that's the case, then that's fine. Why is he complaining about others who are not doing that? Who are saying, hey, we want to push our message. We want to be political and we want to make money at the same time.
To sponsors who might get boycotted because the sponsors that we have are going to go wherever we go anyway. We know that beyond any shadow of a doubt. That's the luxury of doing business honestly and loyalty. But to the kids out there coming up who don't have that luxury, please don't sign these. You can do better. We can all do better.
When he keeps saying the kids coming up, I'm assuming he's talking about like Brett Cooper. That's all I can think of. I keep thinking he's referencing Brett Cooper every time he says kids signing these contracts. It sounds like he's specifically saying like, Brett Cooper, dude, don't do this. What are you doing? Get out of this contract, Tommy.
And the only reason at this point for me to stay and continue doing what I've been doing is to make sure that we all do. That we all do better. So to everyone out there who refuses to sign or is under the cloud of these maybe not entirely enforceable contracts, look, here's your signal. Water's warm here. I'll produce your show. We'll produce your show.
Yes.
If there are enough of you out there, I will transition Mug Club into a full-scale network with independent content creators who don't want to be locked into slave contracts. Look, I understand that business relationships sometimes fall through. People don't see eye to eye. I get that. But there is a way to structure these contracts and a network. There's a world in which contracts and a network exists where everyone benefits.
Dude, I'm going to sign up for this. I'm going to sign up for this and I'm going to be like, bro, I'm really excited that I can lose you guys money and you'll still pay me. I'm super excited about that part. I am totally signing up for this.
Some semblance of fairness, transparency. There's no need to be enslaved like this. If you're out there right now and you're making content work, on whatever scale that may be, there are levels to this game, I understand that. And you'd like to have some backup, you'd like to have some brothers, sisters, Z's and arms, some security without losing your shirt, send your email to creators@louderwithcrowder.com and we'll talk. You want a partnership? Great. Can probably work something out.
Yes. I would like to sign up for free money, please. I'm a content creator who has been demonetized, deplatformed on numerous platforms, and I lose monetization on all my videos. But if you guys are willing to pay me anyways, that is very principled of you, and I like money. Thanks, Tomfoolery Show. Let's go. This is dope, dude.
You want the security of being an employee? You could probably make
Yes.
that work too. There are many ways to skin this cat. And you know what? If Mug Club or whatever network it becomes isn't for you, if this isn't the right home for you, we have lawyers and representation who will negotiate your contract for you with anyone else out there at half the market rate.
All right, so let's get to Jeremy Boring's response.
All right. Our friend Steven Crowder has launched a new initiative called Stop Big Con. And in the video announcing the launch of the project, he talked about leaving the blaze and all the different offers that he fielded from other conservative organizations and what he thought were the real problems with those offers. And that's led a lot of people to speculate about whether or not the Daily Wire is one of the people who made him an offer. In particular, are we the ones who made the offer that he put up on the screen and talked about at length? And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Stephen misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Stephen, how those conversations ended. And
Bro, y'all save some of that money on lighting. What is this? What is this? Spend some money on freaking lighting, homie. I don't know what the hell this is. What is that shadow making your eye all dark over here? What? Why? Why is this happening right now?
And walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why. First thing you should know is that
Your nose is blocking all the freaking light right here, bro. Crap, is he Jewish? I'm about to get in so much trouble. Is he Jewish? I didn't even think about that. There's a thing in the middle of your face, bro. There's a thing protruding from the middle of your face that's causing a shadow on your eye. Editor, switch that second part in. Take out the first part, please. Thank you.
I'm really miserable to be making this video. Stephen's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding, a great comic voice. And I find it really tragic that we're having this kind of a conversation. But it's also very important, I think, that we talk about it, in particular because I know a lot of people who are fans of the Daily Wire were really offended by the things that Stephen said in the video, and they're concerned that maybe we're doing the wrong thing. And I think that by the time we finish this video, you'll understand what we were thinking with our term sheet and how we operate as a business a little bit better.
Wait, you're a business? Wow. Wow, no principles. You're a business? Nope. Steven Crowder doesn't make money. Steven Crowder doesn't do that. He doesn't do all of that. That's for Big Con. Okay? Using money is playing into the system. You should have offered him $50,000 in bits. $50 million in Bitcoin. Because dollars is what the system wants him to use.
I've wanted to be in business with Stephen since the day that I met him. Ben and I tried to do some even movie deals with Stephen before there was CRTV and before there was a Daily Wire. For that entire time, we've talked at length at various times about getting together and doing things. Of course, for most of that time, he's been under contract, first at CRTV and then at the Blaze. So we weren't able to. And from time to time during the years, we would get together and daydream a little bit about would there be a future for us to work together at the other end of that deal. We got word that Stephen was finishing up his time at the Blaze and was interested in having a conversation with us. And so we reached out to his agent and we said, listen, we'd love to have a conversation. It's not every day that a monster talent like Stephen comes on the market. We'd be bad businessmen if we didn't engage in a conversation with him. We weren't sure at that time if there was a deal to be had. I mean, for one thing, we're friends with Glenn, we're friends with Tyler, we're friends with all the guys at the Blaze. We weren't sure that we wanted to commit to making an offer to Stephen. And Stephen's an expensive talent. I mean, he's been in business a long time. He has an enormous fan base, and we knew that it would take a lot of doing to get him over to the Daily Wire. This at the same time that we're investing very heavily in kids entertainment content and making real television content, streaming scripted fiction like the Pendragon Cycle and Atlas Shrugged and other projects that we've taken on. Would we have the resources? We weren't sure. But again, you have to have the conversation, and we were happy to have it. So we reach out to the agent and we say that. We'd like to have a conversation with Stephen, kind of get into the details of what's he looking for, what's he looking for financially, what's he looking for in terms of structure, what would make his life better, what would make him happy. He's got this opportunity now to have a next chapter. What's he want that next chapter to be? And Stephen's agent candidly just wasn't interested in any aspect of that conversation. He only wanted to know about the money. He said, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have some abstract talk. We're going to send us an offer. Tell us how much money you're willing to pay. And he gave us an indication of what the minimum number would have to be in order to even have a discussion with Stephen. And it's a big number. So we talked about it internally, and we decided, yeah, we should do that. We should send over an opening offer, a non-binding term sheet that takes a stab at what we think that minimum number is going to be to get the conversation started so that we can sit down with Stephen so that we can see if there's a deal that'd be good for him and good for us. And that's what we did. We put together the term sheet, we sent it over, and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm going to walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Stephen represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things they said are simply not true based on the text. And Stephen's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document when I finally did get on the phone with Stephen. So first, here's the document, the non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just going to walk you through it. Full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production and distribution agreement between the Daily Wire, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, and Stephen Crowder via his loan out. So that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly in preparing a definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. Yeah,
that's why, the first thing I said as soon as I read it is why wouldn't you negotiate this then? Like, why wouldn't you change some of the terms or something like that? If you're not happy with it, why would you blow it up in public? Why would you go to your stream, or why would you go to your YouTube channel? Look at this. Look, oh, look what they offered me. Oh, like, okay, well, I could imagine a deal that is so offensive that you would refuse to engage with it. But the problem is that normally the offensive part is going to be how low the number is, not how much they want from you, right? So you can say, oh, okay, like the number isn't low. I'm happy with the number, but I want this taken off. I want that taken off. I'm not happy with this part. We can keep this part. Like any contract that I've ever like been, or any contract I've ever had to sign, there has been some negotiation there. There has been some changes made. There have been some tweaking that I needed done. There are little things here and there. Well, I have questions about this. Well, do we have to do this way? Okay, well then let's rewrite that part specifically to represent that. Like, I've never like gotten a contract and been like, what? This is their only and final offer? Wow. Like, no, the first offer is normally just a conversation starter. That's the way it always is you give the first offer, and this is where you begin. This is like, hey, this just kind of lays the groundwork for like everything else, and then we can quibble over details now. But instead he acted like because they made a first offer, like that's it. It's over with. This is all they'll ever offer. And if I want some things changed in here, or if I'm unhappy with some of this, they're gonna refuse to change it. Like, you don't even know that.
And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be a negotiation, because agents and lawyers are going to get involved, because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even.
No, that's what big conservative does, because you're trying to get over on him. If you should have just sent him, your biggest offer with $100 million. Also, make sure that you say that, like, you're not going to own any rights of anything, and that he gets to do literally whatever he wants. You're just going to give him $100 million no matter what, just for existing. Also, make sure that you give him the keys to your car, and probably weekends with your wife once in a while as well. I would think that that's like minimum for, like, a conversation starter. Crowder is definitely no Joe Rogan. Yeah. I would love to see Joe Rogan tune in, or like jump in on this, because Joe and Steven obviously have had like one back and forth, and it was a doozy, and Steven got very defensive and started acting like a whiny little baby when he went on Joe Rogan, and it was amazing. It was so good. So I would love to see Joe Rogan like chime in on this and be like, actually, I also had a deal offered to me by Spotify, and they didn't send all of it at once in the very first offer. We did have to make some changes based on what I wanted, and what, they wanted to accommodate me, and I wanted to accommodate them. So we made it work. But yeah, I would love to hear from him on this.
And, some of their sort of non-negotiable points. And so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time, you either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works. 100% of every interaction I've ever had with any talent, that's the process. And so here we go. Here was our offer. A 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That just means Steven's going to work for DW for 4 years. And if it's going really well, DW can retain him for an additional 2 years. 2, the fee. Remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation started with Steven. $50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term, if extended, paid in monthly installments. Like I say, a pretty big number, but we thought for a talent like Steven, this is probably the minimum number that's going to get us in the door so that we can sit down and talk to him.
Wow. That's a good bit more than what he mentioned. That is a lot more than what he mentioned. Tomfoolery show when Joe Rogan finally writes a book telling what he really thinks of each of his guests, that's going to make him another 100 million easy. Well, so what Joe Rogan normally does in these sorts of situations is he doesn't come out with a tweet. He doesn't put out a little video explaining it or anything like that. He will bring it up just very casually in the middle of a conversation with other people. He'll bring it up very casually and he'll reference every little thing so you know exactly who he's talking about, but he will not say their name. He'll say something like, yeah, I don't know. I heard about this guy, this conservative guy who was upset. Like they offered him $50 million and, you know, he kept calling them Big Con, and like he will say specifically what is happening, but he won't say specific names. He does this all the time. This is always how it works out. He's done it a million times before. So I am just waiting for him to just casually bring it up in the middle of a conversation with some random that he brought on just so that he could bring this up at some point, and then they'll clip it and put it on YouTube, and you won't even know who he's talking to. You won't even know who the other person is. They might get like half of a sentence in, and then it'll cut right back to Joe Rogan finishing all of his thoughts on this, because they plan it. It's as if they plan it ahead of time, and he knows exactly what he's gonna say, and he knows he's gonna call this person out, and it's just it's what he does all the time. What's up, Clark? Just joined. What's going on? So Steven Crowder got a $50 million offer from the Daily Wire to join them, and they were like offering to buy all of his licensing, all of his branding and everything, and they offered him an insane amount of money. And he went off on his show saying that it's unfair, that like, you know, how dare they do this? This is big conservative trying to bring me down, and I'm here to help the little man, and I have principles unlike them, and blah, blah, blah. But he never actually said what his problem was. He never actually said what it is that they did wrong. He never actually said what he was upset about at all. And so now here's the Daily Wire. This is the God King, Jeremy Boring, with the Daily Wire, now responding to Steven Crowder, trying to explain how a contract works and why nothing Steven Crowder made any sense at all.
3, production costs. This is important. We've never made a deal quite like the offer that we put in front of Steven, because Steven, very independent guy. I mean, all of our talent have very independent voices. Obviously, we can't tell him what to say. You know, Candace says what she wants, and Jordan Peterson says what he wants, Ben, Michael. But Steven has always built in this protection for himself that he wants to actually produce his content. He doesn't want, you know, most of our guys, they come to the studio and we turn on the cameras. We point the cameras, we point the lights. Steven likes to do that with his own team to just make doubly sure that no one's interfering with his content, not that we would. And so we anticipated that, and we said, Crowder will bear the burden of production, including all costs associated therewith, on all the content contemplated herein, except on the quarterly and annual content contemplated below. We'll get to that part a little bit later. It's kind of a novel concept. The quality of the production will be as good as or better than is currently existing content. This just, again, Steven's going to produce his own content. It has to be as good as the stuff that Steven's audience has come to expect from him, and that'll come out of the 50 million. So it's not like all of that 50 million goes right in Steven's pocket. He's going to use some of it to pay for producers and studio space and camera.
So that's something that Steven Crowder specifically acted like was unfair. The problem is that like they could pay him the money, and like they could say like, okay, here's your contract, here's what you get, and not mention that part, and he could literally just go sit on his show every day and just like say nothing and just sit in his chair and like adjust his little gun strap, and you know, and just sit there. Just we gotta do 2 hours of this, and just do that. Holster, that's another way of saying it. Yeah, sure. And so yeah, so like he could literally just do nothing the entire time, and then move on. And like there are tons of people who would do that if it's not in their contract, if they don't have to put up the same quality, if it's not specified that they have to do all of this other stuff, then yeah, then they like there are tons of people who'd be like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna get paid to do literally nothing now. This is awesome, and then they just go do literally nothing. I could imagine a lot of people doing that, actually. Most people probably, even if they had the opportunity, if they were capable, yeah, I could see a lot of people doing that. So like, it is subjective as to whether or not the quality is the same and all of that bullcrap, but it seems like they want him to be successful. They want him to do well. They want him to make them money so they can make him money and blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't seem like they would like unfairly be like, oh, this isn't the same quality. This isn't good enough. We're breaking contract here. Sorry. Like, it doesn't seem like they would do that because they want him to do well. They are investing in him to do well, and he's invested in them as well. So yeah, it's not something to get upset about. It's kind of necessary within these types of contracts.
Equipment and operators and lights, just like we're going to use some of the money that we make to pay for the infrastructure and the technology and the marketing and the legal and all the other parts that go into making a successful business. Revenue collection, that says we'll have the exclusive right to realize revenue in connection with all of his content and brand. We're paying you this guaranteed significant amount of money, $50 million. And for that, one of the things we're buying is the content, but we're also buying the right to monetize the content so that we can have a chance of making some money and not just spending money. What is the content? First, we broke this into daily, monthly, quarterly, and annual content. The daily content is going to be very obvious to you. He'll deliver a 1.5 hour Louder with Crowder audio-video show of a quality and kind consistent with the shows that he's currently producing 4 days a week. That's 192 original episodes a year if you factor in 4 weeks of vacation, including all ad reads and promotions as requested by us. So he's going to continue to produce his show, his Louder with Crowder show, 4 days a week, 192 times a year. And that'll include us being able to put ads in it and promotions in it. They'll be filmed in studio daily, Monday through Thursday. At least 1 hour of them will be outside the paywall. That's much how Stephen already operates. That's the part that goes out on podcasting. It's the part that goes out on YouTube. It's the part that goes out on Rumble. And at least 30 minutes inside the DW Plus paywall. So in the same way that right now he has his Piss Off YouTube segment that has historically been at Blaze, well, he would still do that same kind of concept. 30 minutes of the show would now be behind our paywall. Crowder can bank or pre-record a limited number of episodes upon our approval and reasonable discretion. Days without new original episodes will be scheduled in advance, subject to our reasonable approval. What's this about? Well, a guy like Crowder, in addition to his 4 weeks of vacation, there's just also going to be times where he, for whatever reason, maybe he's got a speech, maybe he's got a stand-up comedy gig somewhere around the country. If he were to come to us and say, hey, I can't really shoot a show on Thursday because I'm going to be doing the stand-up gig, that's fine. Let's shoot 2 episodes on Tuesday and we'll roll one of them out on Thursday. It's just giving us all the maximum flexibility to still make the episodes.
Yeah, they want that flexibility as well. They want him to have the ability to go do a talk at some college or do, some speech somewhere or some event. Like, those are still good for branding. Those are still good for, getting his name bigger, telling people about him, getting more people to watch his stuff, to make more money eventually. They are obviously going to make more room for stuff like that. Him acting like that was a big deal as well. It was worded in a way to where it says, we can be flexible here. We can make room for you to not always have to do exactly this each and every week, all the time. They gave a lot of room for him to be able to do other things that would still be helpful to the show if it's not exactly the show in and of itself.
But for Stephen to be able to live the other important parts of his life. 192 episodes. Obviously, there are 260 work days in a year. Most Americans work 260 days a year minus 10. That's 2 weeks of vacation. So they work about 250 work days a year. And we're telling Stephen, you've got to produce 192. So already, even to say 4 weeks of vacation, that is probably above average, but it doesn't really capture the reality of this, which is there are going to be, 60 days basically of the year where Fridays, we call them, where Stephen basically doesn't have to produce a show. And you may say, well, that's still a lot. And I know Stephen says that's more than even, network TV would ask for. Yeah, these are points that can be negotiated. I still think most people feel like, if you're only working 4 days a week and you get 4 weeks off every year and you can pre-schedule even additional time to be traveling by banking episodes, you would at least say, you may think, well, he needed to negotiate that and get it down to 170 or something. Sure, I thought he would, but it's certainly not unfair to expect someone that is making $50 million over the next 4 years to, work 192 days a year.
Yeah.
That brings us to monthly content. What is monthly content? Well, at Daily Wire, our members are entitled to an all access once a month with most of our talent. And that's where our members get to interact with them, sort of one-on-one, ask them questions. So we're saying once a month, he would have to do a 90-minute all access and any promotions and ad reads that would go in that. Right now, there are no ad reads in all access, but again, you're giving yourself, it's a 4, possibly 6-year deal. You're giving yourself a little latitude for things to change. Quarterly content, we asked that Stephen would produce one major promo video and photo shoot coordinated by us for his content at the company. We would want him to 4 times a year come in and make a a very well-produced promo, that gives us marketing assets to be able to go out and sell subscriptions, sell Mug Club, sell any merch that we were doing with them, sell the entire idea of DW Plus, and one backstage episode a quarter or other major live event.
I was about to say they're probably going to include the backstage stuff because they do a backstage thing. I was a subscriber to Daily Wire for a long time, so I actually had like all of this stuff and I watched all of their crap. And like my favorite thing that they did was where everybody who works with Daily Wire all came in front of a live audience and they would film it live. They would stream it live and anybody could watch. And they would have a live audience there in like a huge auditorium up on a stage, and they would sit there and have conversations and they would drink. They had beers, they had they had cigars, and they would all sit and just talk and just like chill and just sit and talk about politics and talk about what's going on. And they would they had a host who would like take questions from the audience, and like that was always my favorite part. And they even had like random guests on sometimes. So like out of nowhere, this guy who I've never heard of named Jordan Peterson just walks in and sits down and just starts talking to them, and they're just having a conversation with this guy. And it was always cool. That was always like the coolest part of being a member of Daily Wire, is that like you got to be able to see all of the Daily Wire people sitting down, having these conversations, and all interacting with one another. That was always awesome.
And VIP experience. So, and annual content. This was a new concept. We said that Stephen would do one feature-length entertainment special. That's like a stand-up comedy special. And that Stephen would do one feature-length political special. And that's like a documentary, like What is a Woman? You know, this is something we're doing with all of our talent now. You saw it first with What is a Woman with Matt. Then in addition to his daily show, he brought us this amazing documentary. You saw it with Candace with Greatest Lie Ever Sold. And we've got a lot more projects like that in the work with our other talent now. It's really become an important part of our business model. Extra. Item 6, the back catalog. Crowder will license his entire back catalog, including without limitation, every past episode of Flounder with Crowder to us during the term. That just means that all the episodes that already exist would also be behind our paywall during the term. At the end of the term, all of that content that we didn't actually pay for would revert to Crowder at the end of the term. But we would have it in the meantime. 7, ad reads and promo reads. DW will have the exclusive right to sell ads on the Crowder content on all platforms, channels, websites, apps, widgets, pages, and lists owned, branded, or controlled by us, and on any Crowder-owned or controlled social channels, email lists, websites, etc., including louderwithcrowder.com. And it says remuneration for that is included in the fee. So what does this mean? Well, this is just how are we going to make, first, that at least bare minimum $50 million, and if you count the other things we were talking about, 60 plus million, plus we knew he was going to negotiate, so you're probably talking about 70, 75 million, plus infrastructure, plus marketing, at least $100 million we would have ended up spending over the next 4 years. Well, how are we going to pay for all of that? Well, one way is we're going to sell ads on all this content. And you know this is how we handle all of our shows.
Thank you, Freddie. Yes, Freddie put the link in the chat. So yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and click that, go ahead and follow the Terminally Online Media channel on Twitch. Once in a while, if we do like copywritten content that'll get taken down on YouTube, we try to go over there and watch it over there so that we don't get in trouble. So yeah, if you wanna follow that channel, that's where we'll probably go later on tonight.
He has to, item B, Crowder will read the ad copy and promos as requested by us, though he'll have certain rights to disapprove of some ad sponsors for various reasons, right? He can disapprove of like 10% of the ones we bring him. He can disapprove if he owns equity in a direct competitor of one of the advertisers that we bring him. But point D, if he doesn't read the requested ads within that framework, then the content that he made won't be counted as delivered under the contract, because it's all fine and good that he made a piece of content, but if we can't make any money off of it, then we're just paying him so that he can make a show. We're not paying him so that we can participate in any of the success of that show. 8, ownership. This is a very important point. Daily Wire will own all of the content created herein, and will own all of the DW created channels and brands created by us during the term. And be clear, we can exploit those channels, brands, and content in perpetuity at our sole discretion. What does this mean? Well, it means just like all of the back catalog that Crowder would have been bringing over, we would have a license to have that all over at Daily Wire Plus during the 4 to 6 years that Crowder was here. But at the end of that 4 to 6 years, he would take all that content with him. A little bit different with the content that we're paying, tens of millions of dollars for during the course of that content would always stay with us. We would have a sort of perpetual right to monetize that content even after Crowder would leave. And
he probably had a similar deal with Blaze too. That's like the weirdest part about this, is this isn't this isn't Steven Crowder's first time doing this, okay? He was with Blaze for a very long time. He was with them when they were CRTV. What was it? Canadian Radical Television? Is that what that stood for? I believe that's what it was. But that's where Lauren Southern came from. That's tons of people who are big name conservative Canadians. A lot of them started with CRTV. Crowder didn't start with them. He is Canadian. He is from Canada originally, but he didn't start with them. That he got big on his own, and they bought his catalog and brought it over to their channel. And it's the same exact freaking crap. So I don't understand why there's such a big problem here when he's done this before.
Matt Walsh were to leave the Daily Wire, presumably at some date in the future, what as a woman would stay here? It was we paid for that. We paid for the marketing of it, the production of it. We paid him for the time in which he created it. And so this contemplates something very similar. We would still have the right to the things that we make. As far as channels and brands, I'll get to that in just a minute because it's addressed more deeply.
I haven't heard from Lauren Southern in a minute. That's because she hasn't been on Destiny's channel in a while, but she's still doing content. She still puts stuff up on her YouTube, but it's mostly planned content. It's stuff that she goes ahead and writes out in scripts and then films, and it's smaller things where she's just doing putting out her opinions, smaller videos, putting out a lot more stuff. So 99 cents from Chase Mitchell. Thank you. Appreciate the
Chase
banana.
Mitchell super chatted 99 cents.
Thank you for the banana sticker, Chase Mitchell. That name brought back feminist-owned compilations, yeah.
As we go. Adaptation rights. All this says is that anything that Crowder says on any of this content, we can adapt it down into written content and put it up at dailywire.com. So, we already do a lot of this. You transcribe something that Ben says, you transcribe something that Michael Knowles says, and we can put that out as an article. They don't actually have to do the work of rewriting their thoughts. 10 additional DW rights, merch rights. It says DW will maintain the exclusive right to create and sell Crowder and Crowder content branded merchandise, and the remuneration for that's already included in the feed. So one of the ways that we can make money, put ads in a show. One of the ways that we can make money, sell subscriptions around his content. One of the ways that we can make money is be responsible for his merch. Now that would mean that we have to pay for the creation of the merch, pay for the marketing of the merch, but we would own the upside. Email list. DW will maintain the exclusive right to manage, grow, and monetize all Crowder email lists during the term. We have an enormous team here at the Daily Wire, and some of them full-time think about email. So that's a burden that we would take off of Stephen, having to manage his own email list, just like we manage and pay the expenses on the merch. But we'll get the upside of that. Remember, we're trying to fill that 50, 60, 70, $100 million hole and to make profit. And the profit gets poured back in so that we can pay for all the infrastructure, all the technology, and all the other ways that we're fighting the fight. Social media management. This one was something that Stephen seemed particularly aggravated by in his video, although I don't understand why. It says DW will have the exclusive right to manage, curate, and monetize his official Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snapchat, Rumble, and other social media accounts, excluding his existing personal Twitter and Instagram accounts. So why would we exclude some?
Oh, okay, sorry. I did just get an email. I am approved for memberships now. So if anybody wants to join, you're capable of doing that. If you refresh, the join button should be at the bottom of the page now. Let me see if it's here. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yep, there it is. Yeah, make sure if you want to, you can hit the join button and get a lot of that stuff. There we go, Z King, Fool number 1. So yeah, we got Fool 1, Fool 2, and then Fool 3. So those are the different levels, and you get different perks with each level. Did you make a members only Discord channel? No, not yet. Now we got another one, Chase Mitchell. Let's go.
Zed King super chatted $5. Love your content, Tom. You're a necessary voice in politics. Clapping hands.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Been around a long time, so it's nice to have some growth now. It's nice to finally get some of this stuff moving. But okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, we'll move it along. Nice. It's nice to get that join button on there. That is awesome.
But not exclude others. Well, we're saying that during the term, we have, of course, he puts his podcast on Apple Podcast. We're the ones monetizing the Apple Podcast.
Nice. Clark W. Welcome to Fools 2. Dope, dude.
Obviously, at the end of the term, he's going to get his official Facebook account back. He's going to get his official YouTube account back. He's going to get his official Apple Podcast channel back. But during the term, again, all those people behind us, we've got experts in every one of these platforms, how to optimize it, how to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. And we'll manage that and we'll collect the revenue. But not his Twitter and Instagram, because those are very personal channels. You can't manage someone's Twitter. I can't speak for Candace Owens. I can't speak for Ben Shapiro. If only I could, I would like what they say a lot more. I mean, as you know about Daily Wire, we have a lot of disagreement sometimes between our hosts. Presumably, if I could control everything that they say, there'd never be any disagreements. They would just all be right all the time like I am.
Sassafras, Fools won, let's go. What's your cut? I have no idea yet. I haven't gotten that far into it, so I'll have to figure all that out. Because even once I get a cut, like me, I still split that with my editor on top of that, so yeah.
But that's not the case. We're saying, of course, he needs to control his own Twitter voice. Of course, he needs to include his own Instagram account. We get this a lot where people are like, Jordan's Twitter has changed since he joined Daily Wire Plus. I have nothing to do with Jordan Peterson's Twitter account. I don't have login credentials for his Twitter account. I've never asked him to tweet anything or not tweet anything. That'd be way outside of the bounds of what's acceptable because that's the very personal medium, Twitter, very personal medium, Instagram. It also says that we will have the perpetual and exclusive right to create, own, manage, curate, and monetize any and all social media accounts that we create based on Crowder's content or shows. What's that about? Well, Crowder already has enormous social channels. He's got like 6 million YouTube followers or something. I mean, he's one of the biggest voices in the movement. But what happens if we create a documentary like What is a Woman? Well, sure, you've got...
Soon Tom will grow big and forget all us plebs. Hopefully. Hopefully that's true. But that's why you become a member now. So you get the more colorful badges next to your name. And then you'll stick out the entire time. And I'll always see you first, That's the entire point. That's why I'm helping you guys out by making this available, so that you can pay so that I don't forget about you, right? Yeah.
Matt's Facebook and Matt's YouTube that are promoting What is a Woman. But we may also want to build a Twitter account, that is at What is a Woman, or a YouTube account that's just for clips from What is a Woman. Well, that wouldn't belong to Matt. That would belong to us because What is a Woman belongs to us. And that's what this was meant to say, that all of the stuff that Crowder brings over, that's his, Louder with Crowder and all, his Louder with Crowder accounts, all of that. Well, that's his. We're going to manage it for him during the term. We're going to monetize it during the term. At the end of the term, all of that's going to go back to him. He said that was not what it says in his video that he released, but you can read right here. That's exactly, he gets all of, it's only during the term that we control that. But the things that we make based on the content that we make, well, that belongs to us because the content belongs to us. So those channels have to belong to us.
I can't see everything here, but this is what I've got pulled up right now. Apparently, Jordan Peterson eventually deleted this, but we can look at the screenshot of it. It says, Steven Crowder on the hypocrisy of the conservative legacy media. And then he linked Crowder's video that we just watched. So that's crazy that Jordan Peterson, if he's working, I didn't even know that he was working for the Daily Wire. I didn't even know that he worked for the Daily Wire now. So that's actually crazy. So Jordan Peterson posted this tweet in support of Steven calling out the Con Inc. Jordan later deleted it. Keep in mind two things. Jordan is the same guy who refused to back down on his tweets and opinions in the face of losing psychologist license in Canada. 2, Jordan is also contracted with the Daily Wire right now. Why was this tweet deleted? So yeah, that's all I've seen that is like in support of what he said. Patrick McGauley, appreciate the join. That's awesome. Fools won. Let's go, dude. This is awesome. You guys are making me blush here. I really do appreciate it. That's just I really didn't expect people to join, so this is awesome. I am super excited about this.
Would never match anything like the magnitude of the channels he's created for himself, obviously. 11, exclusivity. Should go without saying, if you're going to pay somebody $50 million, you're going to have exclusivity. They can't go make content for people who compete with you. You don't pay someone to go work for the competition. But there's carve-outs. Of course, he can go do non-regular guest appearances if Tucker wants to have him on, if Fox and Friends wants to have him on, if he wants to go do a hit with Glenn Beck or something, he can go do that. He should use good faith efforts to coordinate them with us. And this is important. See, he won't have the right to run any personal subscription or donation effort. He can't have a Patreon or a Locals or any sort of paid fan club while Mug Club is part of DW+, right? We're the ones who are going to own subscription revenue during the term. So I think all this is very fair and very obvious to anyone. You wouldn't pay somebody $50 million to then compete with, have them work for your competitor, and you wouldn't pay them $50 million to have them compete directly against you. Now, here's this section that I know Stephen was very offended by, and I think he misunderstood and therefore misrepresented. Fee reductions. There's a different fee reduction for all those kinds of contents we created. Daily content. If he fails for any reason to deliver 192 episodes of The Daily Show, or if he fails to include the ads that we agreed to or the promotions that we agreed to in those episodes, then we'll give a $100,000 reduction every time. What's that about? Well, again, you can't pay someone any amount of money, but you certainly can't pay them an unimaginably huge amount of money for their show and then not get the show. So what this is saying is you don't have to produce a show every day. You don't have to produce 260 or 250 or 240 or 230 or 220 or 210 episodes a year. You got to produce 192 episodes a year. You can film some of them in advance. You can stack them up. All of that's contemplated in there. You could shoot on a Friday so that you can take 2 days off next week. But if you don't give us 192 episodes, we can't pay you the same amount of money as if you did give us 192 episodes. So this is just, you give us 192.
And for those of you who weren't here, Steven Crowder literally complained about this. He complained that they would pay him less if he gave them less content. This isn't a joke. Like, he actually complained about this. He complained that they would give him less money if he did less. It's insane.
Times 4 minus 1, then out of your 50 million, we're hitting minus 100,000. Stephen said that this is unfair, that if he had a sick day or got in a car wreck, we'd dock him $100,000. But I think that's just totally inaccurate for two reasons. One, presumably if he was sick this Tuesday, he could just shoot an episode next Friday and you'd be completely even. He's got an awful lot of extra time in the year to shoot these additional, to shoot any episodes to make up. And second of all, it's actually contemplated a little bit later what happens if there's a disability. In fact, we'll just skip right to it. It's item E. In the event of temporary disability or serious illness that prevents Crowder from performing, the fee will be reduced on a pro rata basis, not subject to the fee reduction mentioned above. What does that mean? Well, instead of a sort of punitive fee because he's choosing not to do the right thing, in that situation, you'll just reduce it by dividing the total amount of money contemplated by the number of episodes, just subtract that, which I think is, again, incredibly fair. If you're being paid $1 for every box you deliver 10 boxes, you get $10. If you deliver 9 boxes, you get $9. That's a different concept than if you just choose not to deliver it, in which case we're going to subtract a little bit extra. And again, you pay somebody $50 million, you should get the work. Monthly and quarterly content, well, this is more valuable content and there's less of it, so the fee is higher, $250,000 if he misses that kind of content. Annual content, well, this is the most important, most expensive content. If you were supposed to have done a complete documentary this year and you didn't deliver it, well, we're going to subtract $1 million because that's one of the most important high-value pieces of content that we asked you to make that year. And then D just says reset, the fee reduces each calendar year. So, every year you kind of start over fresh. That brings us to 13, reduction of fee from lost revenue or boycotts. Again, this is one of the points that Stephen really focused on. He says we're enforcers for big tech, that we're doing big tech bidding, that we're punishing content creators if they run afoul of big tech. And first of all, that's just personally incredibly offensive. It's incredibly offensive to have your friend and ally in 10 years of fighting this fight alongside one another, coming up together, say that you're not sufficiently conservative, say that you're I think he said in the video that we're worse than the left, that we're doing harm to the conservative audience and harm to the country, that we're not sufficiently at odds with big tech. Obviously that's ridiculous. You'll see that it's ridiculous as we go through this and I explain it.
Like them giving him an opportunity to join a group where they're going to pay you more than what you would make otherwise, where they're going to give you the ability to grow with them and grow alongside them, and they all help each other in tandem and put commercials on each other's content and, have links on each other's stuff. And this is a huge opportunity. This is what it is that he's crying about, that's saying oh, this doesn't exist. This is so messed up. This doesn't exist. This is literally what they're doing. This is literally what they're giving him. They are giving him so much on a silver platter. Here you go. You wouldn't make this much otherwise, but we're giving it to you anyways. We just have some stipulations on this to where we're going to make a lot of our money back. Yeah, it's weird.
It's absurd on its face. We get content strikes all the time. We get demonetized all the time. We get shadow banned all the time, just like all conservatives do. We're investing tens of millions of dollars every year into technology to try to create alternatives. That's a long-term project. No one has built anything. Rumble is not a true competitor to YouTube yet. I hope that they become one. But right now, YouTube has many billions of people use YouTube. and many millions of people use Rumble. It's a long-term investment to build these alternative, and Daily Wire Plus is an alternative platform. But right now, we all still are dependent for getting our message out to have access to big tech and to monetize our content. We have to have access to big tech. That's where the audience is, and it's where the money is. It's also where Steven Crowder has made his entire name. He's the biggest conservative YouTube star of all time. He put out his video criticizing us in this contract as not being sufficiently conservative. The number one place people will view it is on YouTube. And that's not wrong. That's where people are. Of course they're going to watch it on YouTube. Of course he's going to put it out on YouTube. That's where the audience is. Now, Steven might respond by saying, yes, but I don't make any money off of YouTube. I have been demonetized there. And that's a point that we'll talk about here. Nevertheless, obviously,
this is what I want them to address. This is the part that I want them to address, because I had to make some leaps to say, yes, they're offering you a contract at the point that you're currently at. They are offering you a contract like right here, right now, where you are already demonetized. And they're saying, yes, this is what we're offering you with that in mind. So when they offer the contract, if you get demonetized after that, then that's a deduction. But to say like, you're already demonetized, so you're not getting further demonetized, so you're not losing more money. Like, yeah, this is the part that I want them to address, to say, yeah, we took that into consideration when offering this contract. We already know that you're demonetized. This is still what we're offering, with that in mind, that you're not making anything on YouTube. And that's a huge hit for them. That's where most of his money likely would come from, outside of Mug Club. Like, that's where most of his revenue would likely come from, but he doesn't get any ad revenue from YouTube. So it's like a lot of the money that they would make back otherwise isn't even a possibility, and they're still making this offer anyways. Like, I'm glad that I'm interested to hear them explain that part, because I'm assuming like it's going to be exactly how I explained it.
You and I and everyone, when we go to YouTube to watch Steven Crowder may be demonetized and he may not make any money. YouTube, though, still makes money off of us. And so in that way, Steven is still driving success for YouTube. It's unfortunate that YouTube has chosen to cut him out of participating in that success. In fact, I think YouTube is utterly wrong. The only time I've ever talked to the CEO of YouTube, it was to criticize her for her treatment of Steven Crowder. I didn't even talk to her about the Daily Wire. I had nothing to say at that moment about Daily Wire. But at that time, they had demonetized Steven. And I used my one audience with one of the most powerful CEOs in the world to tell her that what she was doing to Steven Crowder was absolutely unethical and wrong. So what were we trying to accomplish with this section? Well, let's go through it. The reduction of fee from lost revenue from boycotts, content strikes, or bans from major social media platforms.
I want to say this is actually amazing. And I think like, I'm sure all of you are looking at this in a similar light as I am, as people who have been around a long time, as people who were alive before YouTube even existed. Like, this is actually very interesting to see entire corporations and like big businesses being able to offer $50 million contracts for YouTube stuff. Like, this is actually amazing. This is actually very interesting to see, and it's really cool to see how much people are able to grow and blossom off of these social media platforms that before were just there for us to watch freaking cat videos on. Like, it's actually insane. That is crazy and cool to think about. It is. It's very cool to think about. It's very cool to see. When I first started doing podcasting and I had a bunch of guests on, I actually offered to a bunch of other guests who came on. I was like, hey, if you want to do your own show, I will buy you a microphone. I'll buy you a camera. I'll help you get like your stream set up. I'll help you like edit your videos. I'll help you do all of this stuff. We'll put you on my platform. We'll put your videos on Tomfoolery show and like help you grow. Like, I tried doing something very similar to this when I first started off, because there were a bunch of really smart people who I thought would be really entertaining, and I wanted to get in on the ground floor. I wanted to get them before anybody else could. So I was trying to build some sort of like little mini empire of a ton of streamers with different ideologies and different beliefs and different different political takes. And I was trying to get like, a bunch of people under me that we could all work together and grow together and help one another.
Ad drop. If Crowder is boycotted or dropped,
it was mostly like actually like really good looking women who were politically savvy. It was pretty much all of them. Yeah.
dropped by more than 50% of his then extant advertising partners. That is, if 50% of the money that he's making from advertisers is suddenly gone, and we're not able to replace that revenue within 90 days, then his fee will be reduced by 25% until such time as the ad revenue has been restored for a period of 90 days, and then it would all reset. Stephen says, all the left does is boycott our advertisers, so this just says to the left, your boycotts work and we'll enforce it for you. We will punish the content creator for you. But this isn't about punishing the content creator. This is about if the Daily Wire is going to leverage, I can't stress it, probably $100 million by the time you have marketing and infrastructure costs, by the time you pay for all the legal compliance, all the technology that it takes to support Stephen's show and Stephen's show, even at the price that we offered for it, which he would have wanted much more, at least $100 million. Obviously, if the show makes dramatically less money, well, then Stephen has to make less money because we're making less money. And I brought this up to Stephen on the phone, and I said, Stephen, if we guarantee you $1 for your show, and the show makes $1 in ad revenue and $1 in subscription revenue, then how does the money work? Well, it works that $2 come in, you get your guaranteed $1, we get $1. What do we do? What do you do with your $1? Well, you produce your show.
This is amazing. This is actually amazing. This is what he said to Steven Crowder. He had to explain it to him like he's a 5-year-old. He had to explain to Steven Crowder how ad revenue works and how business works. This is like when you're 5 years old and you hear that McDonald's actually spends like 5 cents on their burgers and they sell it for $1. And you're like, oh, that's not fair, dude. That's so not fair, bro. How can they do that? They're robbing us. They're cheating us, dude. I was a stoner when I was 5 years old. I don't know if maybe this doesn't apply to you guys, but I was totally burnt out by the time I was 5 years old. But that's how I sounded. Anyways, it is amazing that they are treating him like normally you'd say, like, okay, well, how would you explain this to a 5-year-old? He literally had to explain it to Steven Crowder like he was a 5-year-old because he doesn't understand.
And you pay yourself. What do we do with our $1? Well, we market your show, provide all the back-end infrastructure, pay for the 250 plus humans who work to make all of this continue to grow. By the way,
I was about to say, paying labor and employees more than anything. Yeah.
we don't pay for one single person more than we need. There's no charity jobs. We're not giving our money away. If anything, we're understaffed by 50%. We ask more of our employees than any other company probably in America today. We drive people incredibly hard because our resources are limited, because we're trying to accomplish so much for our values, for our movement. So we pay for that out of our $1, and then we pay ourselves. But that's how it works. I said, if the next day one of the $, the ad $, goes away, now what happens? Should it be that you said something on your show that caused that $1 to go away? Now,
I wish he had a whiteboard and made visuals of this. That would be great, dude. Or instead of a whiteboard, just had like animations popping up like for all the Steven Crowder fans, so that we can explain how this works.
You keep your $1 and we make $0? I said, that wouldn't make any sense. Obviously, you would have to lose a little and we would have to lose a little. I said, we're trying to sort of emulate the idea of a joint venture. And Stephen said, no, you should lose all the money. It's your business. And I said, well, Stephen, how would we have a business? Why would we be in business? And how would we stay in business? And Stephen, this is a very important point. Stephen, again, I think the most entertaining, talented person in the conservative movement. I think one of the most entertaining and talented people in entertainment generally in the country today. Has created a very successful content generation company, a very successful production company. But Stephen's never had to create the company that actually distributes, markets, and monetizes all of that content. He talks in his video about being one of the only true independent conservative voices. And I find that incredibly offensive. Stephen, the whole time I've known him, has worked for some
Bobo, whatever. He said that Stephen is right. And so I'm just explaining. Like, if this was an employee-employer relationship, this would be true. This would be correct. But that... Turn down your mic? Are you joking me? Is this a joke? Tom, too loud? Okay. Anyways. So the... It is... You totally threw me off now. Okay, yeah. So if it was an employee-employer relationship, this would make sense. Yes, that like you just get paid whatever, and that's it. But that's not what this is. They're buying a service from you, right? They're getting, you still have creative license over your show. You still get to produce it how you want. You still get to write the script how you want. You still get to do everything exactly how you want to do it. And they're just paying you for the finished product at the end. So it's not an employee-employer relationship. That's not what this is. It's, we like your service. You're providing the service. We are going to provide you a service in return for that service. And hopefully both of us, it turns out to be mutually beneficial in the end. This is not an employee-employer relationship. This is like a mutually beneficial partnership more than anything else. And it's like, otherwise they would script his shows. They would tell him what he can and can't do. They would tell him, this is when you're scheduled, this is when you have to be here, this is when we start filming. Like, they would do all of that crap. And if that's the case, then sure, yeah, like it would make sense. Yeah, he doesn't get to decide. Like, they shouldn't deduct him if it doesn't do well, or if he gets demonetized or any of that crap, because they're the ones writing the scripts. It's their fault if the show gets demonetized, right? But in this case, it's not their fault if the show gets demonetized. It's Steven's fault. It's his group's fault. It's his production group's fault. They're the ones writing the scripts. They're the ones who are deciding what does and doesn't get published. They're the ones making all of these decisions. So they should have to take the fall depending on what the end result is. So yeah, it's very different from an employee-employer relationship. And if that's what he wanted, if that's what he was hoping for, I bet you anything they would have taken that. I bet you anything. If he said, you know what, I don't want this. I want you guys to make all of the decisions for me. I'm sure they would have been like, dope, dude, actually, hell yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, you get the money no matter what. You get it. And we'll just, we'll run everything for you.
Someone else has been paid by someone else. That doesn't mean other people tell him what to say. He's a very independent voice.
He would make a lot of money or a lot less money if that was the case, though, because a lot of the money that they're paying him is for like production and all of that other crap. So, if that was the case, they would pay him a lot less money.
And that's good. So is Matt Walsh. So is Candace Owens. So is Ben Shapiro. So is Michael Knowles. So is Brett Cooper. But Stephen, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time.
It's not about fault, in my opinion. They both take a hit, is fair enough. I mean, yeah, they are both taking a hit, but it isn't about fault, but it is his fault. Like, he is the one who is like causing that to happen if that's the case. They can't cause his show to get demonetized. Like, they can't do that. If his show starts doing poorly, it won't be because of them. Like, they can't have any fault in that whatsoever. So it would be weird for them to be like, oh, you could totally screw all of this up and lose us millions of dollars and we'll still pay you the same anyways. Like, no, that's ridiculous.
Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until Tyler Cardin, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around. And
like, there's no clause in there where they're like, and if we lose you millions of dollars, then we'll have to pay you back for that. That clause isn't in there because that's not a possibility. They can't lose him millions of dollars. That's not something they could do.
And made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them. So Stephen feels very certain that his show was always profitable, but he doesn't know that his show was profitable. And even if it was, what became of that profit? Most of that profit almost certainly was reinvested into growing the infrastructure and growing the technology and growing the marketing and growing the compliance. That's how business works. And if you're the Daily Wire, we're a very successful company.
The Blaze is the worst part of Daily Wire. The Blaze isn't part of the Daily Wire. That's the entire point, is the Blaze is their own separate entity. and Steven Crowder was under the Blaze. Steven Crowder has had his entire catalog on the Blaze for a very long time, for like, I want to say like 6-7 years now, something like that. Like, he's been with the Blaze for a very long time, and his entire catalog has been with them. So that's why I was saying this entire deal that he's upset about with the Daily Wire, this deal already existed with the Blaze ahead of time. So it doesn't make sense that he's upset about this. He probably had the same exact thing going on with the Blaze, just for a lot less money, because it's a much smaller entity than the Daily Wire. So yeah, it doesn't, like, the Blaze was the biggest conservative, like, conglomerate, media group on what do you call it, like, independent media company for a long time. They were that. But now it's the Daily Wire. Now the Daily Wire is by far the biggest, and they are doing the most. I worded that wrong, LOL. I mean, the Blaze is the worst compared to the Daily Wire. Maybe. I mean, I don't even know who the Blaze has anymore. I don't know who all they have these days. So I'm completely unaware of anything that they're ever doing, because anytime I tried watching their crap, it was horrible. It was like rednecks, sitting on the back of their truck, with a gun in one hand and like petting their dog, and they're, well, the liberals don't want me to shoot this duck today, but doggone it, I'm gonna shoot this duck whether they like it or not. And it was just like, okay, I don't care. Why do I care about this? This is so boring. I tried watching The Blaze like a ton of times, and I just couldn't do it. It was horrible.
By conservative media standards, and we're a tiny fraction of the smallest legacy media company. If we're going to make one of the biggest investments we've ever made in talent, which is what we were offering Crowder here, an amount of money that puts all of our investments at risk. I mean, if it doesn't work, you're not going to be able to make that kids' entertainment content. You're not going to be able to make that those movies and TV shows. You're not going to be able to continue to do things like sue the federal government to stop the vax mandate. You're not going to be able to do things like deploy investigative journalists to Virginia, where they uncover the Loudon story that changes the course of a gubernatorial election. All of that takes resources. When you leverage 50, 60, 70, $100 million, you're taking an enormous risk. You're putting all of that at risk. You don't do it cavalierly. You do it because you believe, and I do, that Steven is worth it, that he's incredibly valuable. But it is still a huge risk. There's also a time factor. He might drive all that revenue, but what if it takes a year or even 18 months to bring over those Mug Club subscribers, to get those advertisers spending, right? Well, you're losing 8 figures a year in the interim or 7 figures a year in the interim while you're doing that. So you can't just say, we're going to pay you $50 million, even if the show doesn't bring in any money. That's not punishment. First of all, 50 million minus 25% is not punishment by the standards of any human being in the world today, right? That's not punishment. That's just reality. He would still be being paid millions and millions of dollars, and we would be actively working with all those people that we're paying out of our cut to go find new advertisers to replace it.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning, is he could literally lose his entire, like, he could do nothing, lose all of the money. He could lose them every bit of what's on the contract, where like he gets demonetized everywhere. He doesn't do another episode. He doesn't do any of his stuff. He does literally nothing. And he would still have made, I think, I don't remember how, like, exactly, but he still would have made like 4 million, 5 million, something like that in the end. Like, just by signing the contract, like, he just in and of itself, he still would have gotten that. And he could have lost them like $20 million and still made 5 million on top of that. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
At which point he would be making his money again. Same with the content strike. If any major platform, YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, issues a content strike such that Crowder's content cannot be monetized on the platform, then again, there's this 90-day concept, and again, there's this 25% reduction. Now, Steven, when I spoke to him, he was very upset. He said, I've already been demonetized on YouTube. That's the kind of thing in a negotiation. You scratch through that with your red pen and you say, Steven's already been demonetized from YouTube, so we can't start the deal at minus 25. You have to already have anticipated that, and that would have been fine.
See? Yes, exactly. See? Yes, they're not going to be like, okay, we're starting here. Okay, now that we've paid you the money, you're demonetized on YouTube. Minus 25. No, that's part of the assumption with the contract.
That's just a very common. But if he were making a significant portion of his revenue on YouTube and he lost that revenue, it's not punishing him to say you will make less. We're all going to make less. The real punishment would be if we took all the hit, continue to pay him guaranteed money, whether his show makes money or not, and then we lose the business as a result. And now no one pays Steven anything, and no one releases Steven's content. He has to go build it all from scratch in crisis. Ban. The Crowder content cannot be released on any of the major platforms because of his content being banned from those platforms. Then we'll reduce the fee if YouTube 20, if Apple 20, if Facebook 10, if Spotify 10. Same kind of concept. If the content simply cannot appear and therefore cannot not only be used for marketing, cannot be used to grow the brand, also can't be monetized.
And those percentages would all change. Like, those percentages are all going to change in negotiations because they have to actually look at what each one of those we're bringing in. They have to actually have access to the Blaze's, accounting and see what each one of those was bringing in, what percentage of the revenue that was. Like, all of those would change. They're just throwing freaking numbers out there, and already it's somehow unfair.
Well, we can't pay him the same as if it was. If you're making 25% of your money on YouTube, and now YouTube is permanently gone, you can't make that money anymore. It's not punishment. And this is really what it comes down to. Steven's philosophy seems to be, I deserve to be paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, whether my show drives the revenue or not. That's not a business relationship. He's not looking for a business relationship. He's looking for a benefactor. The Daily Wire is not a nonprofit. We aren't benefactors. We're a business. We only get to eat what we kill. And at the very beginning, we thought maybe we could do like a joint venture with Steven where we have the same relationship. There's no guarantee of money. And if there's more money, he gets a cut. And if there's less money, he gets a cut. But we knew, no, Steven, at his level, his history, his experience, he just needs a big guarantee. He's earned it. But we still have to replicate in the deal some measure of that shared responsibility. And that's all this was meant to accomplish. You say, well, it's the same in the end anyway, because you're still telling him, if you say something YouTube doesn't like, we're taking away your money. Well, no, if YouTube would be the one taking away the money. We're just saying that we can't bear the entire brunt of that. But it's even, I think what Steven's suggesting here is kind of even more disingenuous than that, because I actually kind of came up with this whole concept by watching Steven Crowder. I mean, I mentioned it before. Steven created this idea of Piss Off YouTube segment at Mug Club. And I saw it and thought it was genius. What does it mean? It means Steven can go on YouTube, speak to a huge audience. In fact, most of his audience, that's where they engage with him, right? The subscribers are a very small percentage of Steven's audience. Mug Club is a very small percentage of his audience. YouTube is the vast, overwhelming majority of Steven's audience. He can go on there and he can be risque and he can do what he wants to do, but he can be calculated too. And he can say, there are some things that I simply can't say here because these bastards hate free speech. For those things, come over to Mug Club and become a subscriber. And then for 30 minutes a day at the Blaze, he could say whatever he wanted. And I thought that was a genius thing, and I implemented it at Daily Wire because I was inspired by Steven, who again, very talented guy, very smart guy. This is just meant to say the same thing. Hey, I want you to be thoughtful about what you say on the free part of the show. Doesn't mean I want you to say things that aren't true. Doesn't mean I want you to say things you don't believe. Doesn't mean I want you to bend the knee to big tech. What it means is I want you to preserve the revenue as best you can, preserve the audience as best you can, and then tell people there's a reason we're building these multi-million dollar platforms. There's a reason we have subscribers. It's so that there is a place where they can't take our voice away. They can't tell us what to say. So what should he do? He should go on YouTube. He should talk about the things that he talks about. And then he should say, listen, there's some new study came out about the COVID vaccine, and I want to talk about it, but these bastards at YouTube won't let me. Come over to Mug Club at Daily Wire Plus. Go over there and talk about it. And in that way, we keep growing his brand, bigger and bigger audience, more and more people. We have those revenue opportunities. And Steven is free to say the things he wants to say. I don't know why when he read this, he couldn't see that. I don't know why when we talked about it after the fact and he was very upset with me, he couldn't see it. But I find it deeply offensive that he won't give me the benefit of the doubt. And even more offensive that he felt that he needed to air our disagreement about this section publicly. Steven's my friend. He's my ally. It's just a low move. And I'm sure he thinks he's standing on principle. The problem is, you might even think that, first of all, friendship is a principle. You might think, yeah, but some things have to be more important in the public space than friendship. I don't know if that's true, but let's say that it is true. You have to be right if you're going to burn one of your friends the way that Steven burned us. And Steven is wrong. I am not an enforcer for big tech. I am trying to maximize the reach and revenue of my hosts and my company, because no company spends more money than the Daily Wire directly marketing its talent. We spend tens of millions of dollars every year helping our talent grow, marketing our talent with real dollars. We spend tens of millions more building technology, tens of millions more on staff and support, building expertise, so that we can, over time, build a completely parallel system, a completely parallel economy. That is not a day's work.
6 new members today. 6 new people joining as members. This is awesome. I love seeing all the green names in the chat. You guys made my day. All right, we're going to let this play. I'll be right back.
It's a generation's work. That is the work that we are engaged in. That's why we've had so many successes. You have been with us for so many of those successes. And I feel like Crowder really threw us under the bus and cheapened that and discredited all of it in saying that we're enforcers for the very people who hate us, the very people who shadow ban us and demonetize us and give content strikes against us all the time. When all we're saying is, no, let's be smart about how we fight them. The rest of this document, you're welcome to read it. It's just legalese. And what it says is, if we decide to move forward, this isn't the whole document. We're going to have a longer document. We're going to have to negotiate these topics. Confidentiality. We're not going to tell people about the deal. He didn't sign this, so he doesn't have those confidentiality requirements, although I certainly expected some political or, I guess, personal and professional courtesy of him not going and reaming us publicly for making him an offer that he didn't like. I don't owe Stephen a job, and Stephen doesn't owe me a show. We opened up a conversation in good faith. We made an offer. He didn't like it. Now he's burning us. That brings me actually to what happened after. I sent this over. I did get on the phone with Stephen. Normally, this is the stage where you say, I like this, I don't like that, red line, and we move closer together. Instead, Stephen said, I'm not going to redline this. I'm not going to have my agent respond. This deal is garbage. You need to start completely over. I said, well, I'd like to talk through why we do it. And he listened for a little bit, and he said, well, you're just wrong. You don't know anything about business. My business model is the right business model. And of course, that's unfair because Stephen hasn't run this part of a business before. Stephen likes to say, I'm only on the air because of Mug Club. And Stephen couldn't tell me how many subscribers he had. I said, how many subscribers do you have at the Blaze? He said, I don't know. They don't tell me. And I'm sure that's true. He said, but I'm confident. I guarantee it'll be 350,000 on day one with no marketing. I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk. I've never seen that to be true. I've never launched any talent with $0 spent on marketing and picked up a third of the total subscribers that the entire Daily Wire has built in 8 years in business. I hope Stephen's right. I hope he makes unseemly amounts of money and is able to continue being an important voice in the movement for years and years to come.
I think it's amazing that he doesn't know how many subscribers he has. I think that is actually amazing that he just says, oh, I don't know. They don't tell me. They don't tell me that. I don't have access to that information. Sorry, I'm not high level enough to know how many subscribers I have. That's insane. Who is they? When he says they don't tell me, who is they? We would all like to know. We all want to know, who is this ominous they? Stephen Crowder, as you're talking about the big people up top. Also talking a whole lot of theys. Blaze, I mean, maybe. I'm pretty sure that he created Mug Club, like, before he went to the Blaze. Before he got demonetized and everything, I'm pretty sure he already had Mug Club. So it's possible that he sold Mug Club, but Jeremy just said that he said, I make all of my money from Mug Club. So if that's the case, then maybe it doesn't go through the Blaze first. I don't know. See, he calls his Mug Club, we call ours, the Fool's Den. So the Discord is called the Den of Fools, but the people who joined today, they joined the Fool's Den. That's the name of it on the channel, but I don't think it actually shows up anywhere. So that's why we got Fool 1, Fool 2, and then Top Fools.
But that's not a risk that I could take. Stephen implied that he not only didn't like this $12.5 million a year number that I offered him, but that he thought it should be closer to $30 million a year. That's $120 million over 4 years just for Stephen's show. I would still have to spend those tens of millions of dollars every year that I told you about on things like marketing and infrastructure and technology to support the show, the part that Stephen's never done. As soon as he said that, I knew we'll never get to a deal. I can't guarantee $30 million a year. I didn't know how I was going to pay for 50. I thought, not that he isn't worth it, but that's a big risk. $120 million is an incalculable risk for a company our size. And again, I'm not saying Stephen isn't worth it. I hope he is. I hope he builds his own business. He'll make a ton of mistakes. He'll find out that he's wrong about a lot of how the business world works. He'll learn and he'll grow because he's a smart, talented guy. And I hope he gets to a place where he's proving me wrong and he's making all that money. But that just was not a deal that the Daily Wire could possibly make. And we'd have to pay it even if he lost all the revenue, or even if he lost enormous chunks of the revenue. It was just an impossible situation. And so Stephen said, we're going to throw this deal out. I'm not even going to mark it up. I'm not going to negotiate it. Start over. Send me a new deal. And because of his talent and because of our friendship, I thought about it for a minute. Talked to my partners about it for a few minutes. And I just realized what I already knew in my heart, which is Steven's not a team player. That's not a knock.
What's up, Matthew? Appreciate it.
He has an enormous individual talent. But he's not going to be happy unless he's out on his own. And so I called him up. I said, hey, we're not going to send a follow-up offer. I want you to hear it directly from me, not from lawyers and agents. I said, but the kind of deal you're looking for is not the kind of deal that we can make. He was super gracious, appreciative, kind. We agreed to continue forward as we always had as friends. We do favors for each other. I told him, if you stay at the Blaze or if you go off on your own, go to Rumble, go wherever, we're going to continue to write stories about you and promote you and have you on. Like, you know, we want you to be as successful as humanly possible. We want to contribute to that. And we went our separate ways. And months went by. October goes by, November goes by, December goes by.
Hey, Matthew. Pool 2, let's go. We got another one. Appreciate it, man. That's awesome. Damn, he hit him with the not a team player. I heard he has phone recordings. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming when we get to the next video that might be in there.
And then a week ago, in January, Steven called me. And he said, hey, man, I can't unsee this contract that you sent me. Well, it's not a contract. It's a non-binding term sheet. It's a conversation starter, but okay.
If you come back, Matthew, make sure you better be pissed off next time, okay? Don't come back unless you're pissed off.
And he told me his perspective on it, that we were not paying him what he's worth, that we don't understand his great business mind, and that it's going to go exactly the way that he thinks. We're all going to be proven wrong. I said, again, I hope that's true, Steven, but that's not a risk I can take. And then he said, and you're just an enforcer for big tech. You're hurting young talent. I said, well, Steven, first of all, no two talent in our company have the same deal. Every deal is different because there's different circumstances. This is the kind of deal you make to protect a 9-figure investment. You can't pay 9 figures in expenses, even if the revenue dries up. That isn't possible. It's not prudent, but it also isn't possible. And he wouldn't let it go. He was very angry. And I got very flustered. I didn't expect him to be calling and laying into me the way he was. I'd never experienced it before. I didn't make the best defense of the deal that I probably could have because I was so caught off guard. I mean, I made a decent defense of the structure of it, but I was really taken aback. And then I told him, well, I'll take it under consideration, bud. And we got off the phone. And then I wake up yesterday and he puts out this video laying into us the way that he did. And, you know, he redacted parts of the document. He didn't name us by name. And I'm sure on some level that was meant as a courtesy. But all it really did was create suspicion in our audience. I know a lot of you have been out there defending us, saying, well, this couldn't have possibly been the Daily Wire. And I don't want to be the guy who 3 weeks later, Steven or someone else says that it was the Daily Wire and you feel betrayed. Like, why'd these guys leave me out to dry? I appreciate your impulse to defend us, but we don't need to be defended. This is a fair offer. It's an offer that would have been negotiated. I would have paid him more. The fees would have been lower. Fee would have gone up. Penalties would have gone lower. Number of work days probably would have shrank. He would have done a little bit less content, and we would have inched our way like this, either to a deal or not to a deal. That's not how Steven chose to operate. And now we find ourselves here where we're having this public dispute. I'm having a public dispute with my friend of the last decade, which is one of the saddest things I've ever faced in public and professional life. It's just a horrible thing, but I do owe it to those of you who are out there defending us. I owe it to Daily Wire Plus subscribers to say, yeah, it was our offer. I'm proud of the offer. I think it was innovative. I think it was meant to make sure that we could mutually succeed. I don't need to tell you that we're committed to fighting the left. We fight the left as hard as anyone. You might say, well, you guys are wrong sometime. Ben was wrong about this one time, and you were wrong about that one time. And yeah, we don't claim to not make mistakes. This actually isn't one of our mistakes. This is a great, respectable offer that we made to a good friend of ours, a mega talent, and now it's been misconstrued and is being wielded against us kind of as a cudgel. And so just wanted to be transparent with you about it. I'm proud of the deal. I'm proud of what we do at the Daily Wire.
Okay. This came out literally like an hour before I started stream. So this wasn't even part of the plan. We weren't even planning on doing this one, but now it's here. Now it's part of the story. So Steven Crowder, with his smug face right off the rip, I didn't want to do this. All right. Bro, quit. You already lost. Quit playing. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh. Oh. What is he looking at? What is he looking at? Is that a recording? Is that a tape recorder? Not only did he record it, he did it old school. He recorded it on a tape recorder that looks like it came from, what's the movie, Big? From the 1990s with Robin Williams. He's got it right next to his gun. This is his other weapon. This is his other deadly weapon right here. What is this? What do we have here? Big was Tom Hanks. Well, I don't know. There's one with Tom Hanks. There's one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's one with Robin Williams. They're all the same. This is the same thing.
They don't get deals that
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves for a little bit.
Just so everybody knows, okay? Just so you guys all know, that was not played on that. That was all edited in. That was edited in later. That's all just like for visual effects. Like that's just for like, you know, added dramatization. That none of that did not, he did not just rewind it perfectly each time. He didn't hit the slow mode button. He didn't get it just perfectly at the right part. If that's all he plays, that is going to be horrible. Like that is going to be insane bullcrap that he's willing to take people out of context that much to just say people are wage slaves. Like, that's it. There better be more to this, dude. There better be more to this.
God bless the talk boy. Those things are worth like $5,000 now. It's an expensive gag. So didn't want to have to do this, but Daily Wire outed themselves very, very quickly. And sure enough, if you see all of the people who work there, some of whom I have relationships with, they immediately tried to make this all about money. Here's the problem. There are a few problems, and I'll go through with some receipts. Everything that was said about negotiations, how they transpired, beyond the numerical value, which is true and I'll get to, everything else is untrue. I don't really want to get into that. It's completely irrelevant. Here's why. Go back to the 20-something minute video, 30-minute video. You've never heard me say or write anywhere online that these offers weren't paying enough money.
You didn't say anything specific. We have no clue what you're even upset about, bro.
Why? Because it's not about the money.
Hopefully he tells us what it actually is about this time. Isn't it Crowder thing to take everything out of context? I mean, I don't know. I maybe that's a Crowder thing. He's just generally dishonest, but I don't know if that's like a Crowder thing to do. But this is,
it's kind of unreal to me that the only thing these people can still talk about is the money. The conversation was about conservatism, the movement, and big tech. They keep talking about money. I'm talking about a country. I'm talking about a movement. I'm talking about making a difference. It's not about the money, and Jeremy and the Daily Wire know that.
yeah, so he thinks that by them backing big tech and by them helping big tech and all of this, that they are not principled. Howdy, Tom. From what I read, an outrage mob undermined his minimum guarantee, and it's not just a tiny bit, like you say. It was 25% off minimum guaranteed for each strike or demonetization. Yes, we went over the entire contract. So the 25% was if he got banned. And that was for like bigger platforms. Then it was like 10% for Spotify, 10% for like iTunes, 10% for, you know, different things. Like they had different things overall. But they didn't, and they said, we didn't count like YouTube. He's already demonetized on YouTube. That didn't count. That wasn't like that. We were already assuming he's not going to make money from YouTube. So him being demonetized when we wrote the contract didn't change anything. So yeah, even it like we all watched it. We all read the entire contract. We saw everything from it. We know there are parts that are 25%. Like we're all well aware that it all still makes perfect sense with what it was that he was being offered. Like, yeah, if you're losing them money, yes, you should also lose some money. That is how this works.
How do I know they know that? Because after, according to what he said, I walked away from the offer. I did place one more.
And I want to be clear. I have been on things like this as well, where I make salary. So I ran restaurants for a while. I ran restaurants for a long time. Part of it is if we lost cash, that came out of my bonus. If we lost inventory, that came out of my bonus. If we, there were a ton of if we had like a major incident that cost a lot of money, that came out of my bonus. Like, this is how this works. Like, you are supposed to, my editor, okay? My editor, one of the deals that I made with him is I said, I will pay you per video until we get monetized, right? I will pay you per video until we get monetized. Once we get monetized, I will pay you less per video, but you will get a big chunk of my channel. Like, you will get a percentage of my channel's monetization. And the entire point in that is to like incentivize him to do well and make more. And that was the same with them. They said that there were even like incentives for him to make more money on top of the 50 million, and that he he was capable of making way more than what it was they were even initially offering with other incentives. So yeah, this is how it works. Like, you say, like, hey, if you lose me money, then you lose money. If you make me money, then you make money. That's how these contracts always work. This is how it's supposed to work. It is good incentive to say, hey, don't lose me money, because you don't want to lose yourself money. But you should make me money. You should want to make me money, because that will make you money. This is how this works. This is how it's supposed to go. Tom, would you sign an agreement like this? Disregarding the numbers, would you sign a streaming agreement structured like this? This is literally like a standard contract. Yes, this is what most everybody who signs, they literally said, this is what everybody else is signed with. This is what his Blaze agreement was like. The contract that he was just on, the contract that he just got out of, they said this is what he was doing. So yes, this is what everybody signs. This is what everybody does. Yes, they gave him the rights to his production. They gave him creative license. He is the one who is making the content still. If they came in and they wrote all of his scripts, they told him, you have to be here at this time to film on this day. If they said, this is what you're talking about, this is how many commercials, like, if they decided all of that for him, then I would understand, like, okay, yeah, they're like, he shouldn't have to lose money on this stuff. He shouldn't have to take any of the loss whatsoever, because they're the ones making all of these decisions. But that's not what it is. They're giving him all of the creative license and saying, if you lose on the creative license, then we lose. And so, like, we are losing together. We're in this together. This is a partnership. Both of us are in this together, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm. We are in this as one. And he's acting like this is messed up. He's acting like a pouty little brat afterwards. Like, oh, $50 million, this is not fair. How could they? They're helping cancel culture. This is ridiculous. This is what happens when your ego goes unchecked and you aren't a professional. You need to be a professional like Andrew Tate, okay? Be a real professional. Actually, this is way more lenient as initial set of terms. Right. Well, that's what they were saying, is that, like, this is actually, like, even more because he's literally the top conservative creator. Like, nobody is above him. Like, he is the guy. And so, like, there was a lot more that we added in here that we wouldn't give to other people. So, yeah. I'm saying the stuff that he's upset about, those are like standard things. The things that he is upset about, that is standard. That is like asking me if I would sign a contract like this in a second. In a second. It would depend on how much Mug Club makes, honestly. That would be the most important part. How much does Mug Club make? But he doesn't know how much Mug Club makes. He said he doesn't know. Nobody's told him. He's not allowed to know. Nobody gives him that information. So the most important part for me, he doesn't even have that information. Look, Phil, if you can point out some sort of downside to this, If you can point out where this is unfair, where this is like out of the ordinary, where this isn't like, you know, what we would expect from something like this. Because not only do I think this is what we would expect, I would say this is like above and beyond all of that. Like, I would say like this is the best thing you could possibly imagine. And he's still acting like it's unfair.
Our call to the Daily Wire. And I made it very, very clear that it wasn't about money. That was not the topic of conversation. There was zero, as they've tried to portray this, miscommunication.
That's a lie, dude. Your entire first video was about the money being taken down, and you felt like this was helping big tech. This is a lie. It was about the freaking money, and they had to explain this has nothing to do with big tech. This has to do with just how business works.
Communication. It was one last call where the only thing that I asked for, my only demand, was their word, and not even for me, but for other people coming up facing these kinds of contracts. Let's say it's a kid who comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say it's some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's not the penalty of the demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
Wait, what?
Facing these kinds of contracts. Let's say it's a kid who comes in with 500,000 YouTube subscribers or something like that, 100,000. Let's say it's some other kid you're paying 6 figures to come in and do it. There's not the penalty of the demonetization or if they're removed from iTunes, Apple, YouTube.
Yeah, sure there would be.
Well, see, he's still talking about the freaking money.
And here's something else. I was also very measured. I was painstakingly clear in taking myself off the table because it wasn't going to be a right fit. That happens in business all the time. But that we weren't talking about me. We were talking about the futures of other people who could potentially be in that position, that very disconcerting position. No miscommunication. What I'm talking about is you're describing a model for everyone, not just, let's get rid of me here. Everyone, if there's a penalty for being demonetized on YouTube, because your business model requires that be a huge component of it, you need to change your business model or this movement cannot work, Jeremy.
See, he's saying we should be able to lose you money, bro. Let us lose you money. We should not have to pay for losing you money. It is about the freaking money, Steven Crowder. It is about the money. It's the fact that you don't understand how this works. It's about the fact that you just don't get it. It is about the money. Everybody else who's looking at this and listening to you talk, for all of them, they all recognize it is about the money. You're making it about the money. You're complaining about the money. So Jeremy Boring explained the part with the money so that he could clear up that this is how money works. Like, to keep saying it's not about the money. It's about principles. I should be allowed to lose you money and you shouldn't. I should not be. Like, I don't even want to call it a penalty. Like, because it doesn't even seem right to call it a penalty when it's just you losing yourself money is what it is. Like, you're just losing yourself money. Yes, they should lose money if Steven messes up. Yeah, sure. Yep. Sure.
Jeremy, I can't imagine my show trying to come up and be beholden to.
Like, I don't know if you're trolling Bobo, but like, let me ask you. Okay, so if you are serious, okay, if you're being serious, why would they sign him on then? What's the point then? Why would they want him to come over there? What do they get out of that? What does he get out of that? Let him lose himself money. Why would they be like, oh, come here. We're a charity service. We're here to just give charity away. We're here to just lose our pants and go out of business by throwing money away to everybody else. Are you going to go pay for Steven Crowder to put on a big production? And are you going to go spend all of your money on him? Like, nobody wants to do that. Nobody's going to do that. That would be ridiculous. You should only work for a company if they break If they break even or lose money on you, if you are adding value, it's a bad deal for you, obviously. Yes. If you own a pizza place and your employee drops a bag, he's not their employee. Bobo, stop saying that. He's not their employee. I understand what you're saying. We've already been over this. He's not their employee.
The YouTube advertiser guidelines, let alone, I mean, honestly, being beholden from a conservative entity with hard strikes, right? Being removed, but let alone being
like, it's more like a contractor than anything else, right? So I work, say right now, okay, I'm monetized by YouTube. Right now, I'm monetized by YouTube. Say I go out and I buy a camera, I buy a mic, I buy a computer, I buy a monitor, I buy a keyboard, I buy a mouse, I buy all these fancy lights and everything behind me. I get a ring light up in front of me. I get all of this stuff, right? And then I only make like $10 on YouTube. Should YouTube come and reimburse me for all of my money on all of the lights and everything? No, I am the one who put the money into it. I am taking that loss. That's on me. I'm the one who chose to do this. I'm a contractor for YouTube. They're not going to pay for my loss. Why should they? If I work as a construction worker and I'm using my drill and I'm drilling screws into a wall and my drill breaks, the guy who hired me to to screw whatever into the wall, he's not going to pay for a new drill for me. No, that's my problem. That's my responsibility. I'm a contractor, right? If you hire me to fix something at your house and while I'm fixing it, my screwdriver just breaks and that's it. I'm not going to make you pay for it. I'm going to go buy a new screwdriver. I'm going to take that loss because it's on me. That's my stuff. That's my thing. I'm a contractor. That's how this works. Look, I'm not a socialist. So there's a possibility that you guys are all just socialists and like we just have like a fundamental disagreement on how like capital should work and how distribution of capital should work. But you're saying it's about the money, but his beef with the penalties for being deplatformed is that it makes the entire movement susceptible to cancel culture. But it doesn't. It doesn't, though. That's the thing. That's the thing. Think about this, Uru. Think about this for a second. Just think for just a second, okay? Because that's a lie. It's not even just that, it's not even just that it's wrong. Like, that's a complete lie. If he doesn't go with Daily Wire, okay, and he just stays by himself and he does it on his own, does the guy who asks you to build the house pay you less because you broke a screw? No. You take the loss from the broken screw. The guy who's paying you to build the house never paid you for the screw in the first place. He's paying you for the job. That's what they're doing. They're paying you for the job. If you're not doing the job, then you get paid less. If you pay me to build a house and I only build half the house, you're probably going to pay me half the freaking money. Crowder being demonetized on YouTube means he's benefiting the platform without making money from it himself. If he actually cared, he would be off YouTube entirely. That's what Jeremy said. He's like, bro, he's already there working for free for YouTube. I don't know what he's even talking about. The point is he wants a defense against cancel culture. It involves money, but it isn't about the money. It's about the defense against cancel culture. But you're not changing anything. Nothing changes. Nothing you're saying would be changed by anything that they could do for him. Say they give him the money anyways, that doesn't change cancel culture. He still gets demonetized. He still gets banned. He still gets taken off those platforms. The only difference is how much money they give him. That's it. That is the only difference here. Cancel culture is not affected whatsoever. He is using a talking word that he knows is going to make everybody's brains go, oh, no, not that. Oh, what? They're supporting that, but that's bad. But cancel culture is bad. Guys, I don't like bad things, and they're supporting things that are bad. I don't like that. The word cancel culture just makes your brain just go, what? No! But in the end, cancel culture is not affected. It doesn't change. There is no defense against cancel culture. There's no, firewall against cancel culture. Nothing he's saying is true, nor does it make sense. Defense against cancel culture sounds like a class at Hogwarts. If you won't lose any money, you will be less likely to be canceled and have more money to fight it. So it would probably help. He's going to make more money with them, Uru. He's going to make more money with them. He's going to make more money with them. This is what I'm talking about. If you're going to make it about the money, he is still better off with them. He is still better off doing this stuff with them, okay? We're still coming back to the money each time. It is about cancel culture affecting his wallet.
Advertiser friendly. We know how broad those guidelines are. They might as well just read, don't say anything offensive, and they change them at the drop of a hat.
I'm not suggesting that the guidelines aren't terrible. I'm suggesting that if making money off of those platforms is part of how you're justifying the salary you're paying someone, then or the fee I keep saying salary, the fee you're paying someone, then when those go away, everybody loses money. You can't pay the same amount with less revenue.
How about you create a different business model? Now, I
He is so dumb. This is the different business model.
And I know what some of you are thinking. Of course, telling someone else, hey, change your business model. I get it. I'm in no position to say that unless, instead of Monday morning quarterbacking it, here's the thing.
Should do it yourself.
I didn't just offer criticisms. I offered a guide on how to, here's the deal. I want to sit at the table with people who, granted, have an immense amount of power and have incredibly deep pockets. That is all true, to be clear. And by the way, it's something that I want to have on our side of the aisle. But I offered a guide on how to do it. It is incumbent, this is what this is about. It is incumbent upon conservatives, if we believe what we say.
See, they have their own website. They have their own platform. His stuff will still be on there. His stuff will still make money there. He will still get that there. That is the defense against cancel culture. The fact that he's still capable of making millions of dollars after being deplatformed everywhere through them. That is the other business model. This is the protection. This is what it is he's asking for. He's just pretending it's not. He's just making something up to complain about.
To uncouple, to divest, if you want to use that term, from big tech, right? For the business models of the movement as we move forward, to not rely on playing ball with Facebook and with YouTube. That is something that we have to move toward. You know that we've been trying to do that here for years. That's why every single show we say, hey, if you can watch on Rumble, please do so. We're not looking to be banned on YouTube, but we certainly won't compromise the truth in order to be advertiser friendly. Here's the thing, Daily Wire, Jeremy, and I really do hope that we can talk at some point. Please, you can pick up the phone. We've done that. We here have found a way to make that work. For proof, see election night, our numbers on Rumble there, and see the numbers on Rumble when we get suspended from YouTube. I think it was 4 times this last year. And I went to great lengths to communicate that to the people at Daily Wire. There can be no next me if the people at the top with the financial resources are doing the bidding. That's being the arm of big tech. What you just said is, well, we have to play ball with big tech if we want to make.
See, I almost feel like maybe he's being genuine and that he just really is this dense, because he's complaining to Jeremy boring. Like, guys, the kids. Think of the kids. Think of the kids, guys. Steven Crowder is just freaking nuts.
Money? Well, I don't. Why don't you guys follow a model like I have and scale it? That's what I've been doing since 2014. You know that. Has been trying to make sure, which I thought we were all doing, that we can all flip the bird to Silicon Valley. This is saying we need him and you need to play ball. And by the way, before some of you ask for this, look, there's always personal information on phone calls. And for the record, I've recorded 3 people on phone calls in my life. All 3 are involved with big tech. Just to be clear, the entire call transcript has been sent to others to verify without hopefully having to release the whole thing. And I'll be on Tim Pool's show, I believe, on Monday to talk about it.
So this is Matt Walsh on Twitter. Negotiations ended amicably. Then he called weeks after the fact and secretly recorded the conversation so that he could pull this stunt. It's one of the lowest things I've ever seen in this business. A total betrayal of his friends and people who've supported and helped him. No sane person will ever do business with a man who treats his friends like this and secretly records phone calls with a person he's known for years. He'll get his YouTube views out of this. I hope it was worth it for him. And if you're dumb enough to buy the "I'm just looking out for the young creators" shtick in that call, I don't know what to tell you. He knew it was being recorded and that he'd release it. He was performing in the call for an audience. You need to be smart enough to see that.
We can check this. Pulled upon who is. The domain for Stop Big Con was registered on 12/12/2022.
Whois.com.
Stop Big Con was registered on 12/12/2022.
The internet sleuths are going to catch him.
Crowder announces he left the Blaze and asked people to sign up for Mug Club on 12/15/2022.
It was all the fact. Listen, I love you, internet sleuths, because this is, of course, was going to happen, and this is the problem: is that Steven has to realize people are.
Oh my goodness! Wait, he created that before he recorded the phone call? I take it back, dude. I take it back. Candace Owens was right. Lou Ray's team wins. My team loses. Yeah, we were wrong. Damn. Oh my goodness. That is nuts. I can't believe that just happened. What did he create? His website, whatever it was, Stop Big Con. He created that before the recording. Yeah, I got him. Yeah, that does not look good. That does not look good. That is quite a development right there.